Okay, so third time in here. So a couple things. So today we're obviously going to be learning about the Vim and text editors. They're one and the same thing. I threw in Visual Studio Code at the end. For the most part, you'll only be expected to know Vim in the course because that's purely command line. So when we go over VS Code, it'll just be for like extra knowledge, I guess. Yeah. So everybody enjoy Kahoot last week? Is it better than boring old lab? I'm going to try to integrate that in class more. We will see how we can fit in the lab and the Kahoot and quizzes and everything. I'll probably maybe alternate, do, okay, lab, Kahoot, lab, quiz, lab, Kahoot, lab, quiz, or something like that. We'll see. I'll have to think about it. But yeah, so we have lab again this week. If you weren't here last week, we did have a quiz. So a couple things I want to note about the syllabus. Make sure I'm recording. Okay, yeah. So a couple things to note about the syllabus. I did change a little bit of it. I think it's section 6.3, and it's the late assignments and assessment section. If you miss a lab or a quiz or any kind of assignment for any kind of medical or excusable reason, or maybe family reasons or something, you have a week to notify me that, hey, I had something come up. Can I make up this thing? After a week, I will not let you make it up. That's just so we don't have people coming at the end of the semester saying, oh, I missed that lab because of this and everything. I think it's pretty fair if you have an emergency and everything. A week is enough turnaround time to communicate with me at least. So we may schedule it after a week for you to make it up, but you have to at least start the communication with me within a week. You can't just wait 3 weeks down the road and say, hey, I missed something 3 weeks ago and now can I make it up? No, that's a little bit unreasonable. Because makeups make me do extra work. Like your quizzes, that's the other thing. Quizzes and tests, I have the right to change them. If you want to make them up, I have the right to change them slightly so that they're not the exact same. They won't be necessarily more difficult in nature or less difficult in nature, but I have the right to change them so that people just don't miss the quiz and make up some kind of reason and come to my office hours and then try to expect to know all the answers and cheat, right? So just know that if you miss something, it better be an emergency. And second of all, like, it's gonna be different, slightly. Like, again, it won't be harder, it will just be something different from what everyone else got. All right, so let's get started on the lecture. So a couple updates other than the syllabus. We've got drop-in tutoring now through the Student Success Center. I'll show you where to look and stuff if this changes for some reason, but you can just go in down the hall in Swearingen, I think 1A07. Wednesdays from 4 to 6. I don't know who the tutor is. I'm not communicating with them. I haven't gotten any kind of email or correspondence from the Student Success Center of who's doing the tutoring, so I might get it eventually, but I don't know as of now. Homework 01 will be assigned on Wednesday, and then it'll be due a week from Wednesday. It will be, I already kind of know what it's going to be. So, yeah. Lab 02 is going to be on Wednesday, and then office hours is today. I had a couple people wanting to make some things up today and or drop in. Please do so. I'll stay after class for a couple minutes, and then I'll head up to my office in the IBM or Innovation Center from 2 to 3:30. So, or if you want to make an appointment with me outside of office hours, you can. Okay, so a quick recap on what we've learned so far. We learned the most basic navigation things, LS, CD, PWD, all those things. The concept between behind global and relative paths. And then we learned how to find more stuff about it, so we can either Google or you can use the manual pages. And we practiced a ton. So we've had 2 labs based off of the first initial set of commands. Now we're going to start learning more and new functionality of them. All right, so just again, a recap of all the commands, and this is more for note purposes. So if you want to see a synopsis or summary of what we've done so far, refer to this slide. Yeah, so we'll start getting going. All right, so first thing I haven't mentioned yet. Yeah. Yeah. These are already on Dropbox too. So, yeah. So first thing I haven't mentioned yet, and maybe some of you kind of picked it up in lab, is case matters in Linux. So if you name a file hello.txt and then with a capital H and one with a lowercase h, they're completely different. Windows also follows this a little bit, but it's less strict about it. But in terms of Linux and Unix, case always matters. So you should always just assume that if it's an uppercase or a lowercase, they're going to be different things. All right. Anytime you see something with a bracket, like 2 angle brackets, you want to insert something there, right? You just, if I type this there, like, hey, you need to fill in the blank, this is what that means. Like, if I do 2 angle brackets, this means you need to fill in the blank with something else. So one command we haven't really used that much is echo, and it just echoes hello, like it echoes anything you give it. Anything after echo gets printed into the terminal. So don't type the angle brackets is my point. Like if I give you something like this, I expect you to fill in a word, to substitute a word for the angle brackets and stuff. All right, we've already learned some of them. I'll go over them again, some quick command line shortcuts, and then we'll learn about the Vim text editor, and this will be more so next week, but I'll kind of get you exposed to them today and in lab this week, is command line arguments and options. All right, so a couple shortcuts, and I'm gonna go ahead and just pull this up side by side so we can do it live. Let's see, can I let's do notes? Nope. Can I do this? Nope. Nope, that's not what I wanted. There we go, that's what I wanted. All right, so a couple shortcuts, and I'm doing this on Mac, so it's the same thing you can expect because Mac is got a Unix base, it comes from Unix. So you can expect something similar, it's just your terminal prompt is different. It's no big deal, you can use the same old ls, cd, everything, pretty much. There's a little bit discrepancies, but most of it's the same. So let's not worry about the semantic or whatever. I don't know. The look of it. It always does the same thing. So, and this is mainly because the Wi-Fi is not reliable. Supposedly they fixed it, but I don't trust it still. It failed me once, so I don't trust it. So yeah, I have some weird things installed that will look through through my history. So when you see this like gray pop up, I have it installed or configured where I can just hit tab or the right arrow key and it will autocomplete based off of my history. So you can ignore the gray. I also have it to where it checks my command. So as I'm entering, it actually makes sure that it's a valid command. So ls is green. We have echo. So until I finish the actual command, it doesn't show up green. So it just tells you, hey, this is a valid command or this isn't. So if I do something like xcal or something like that, which is an actual program, it shows up red because it's not installed. So those are all customizations I did. These are all things that you can do and learn how to do that will make your life easier. And in general, the command lines, you're going to find your own ways of making the command line easier and work for you individually. A lot of people customize it in tons of different ways. You can have fun with it. Like In the summer, I asked people on their first homework, what is SL? In case you accidentally mistype LS for list, what does SL do? You can install a program that does this and tells you, hey, you screwed up, and prints a steam locomotive across your screen, and then you have to wait for it. And it's actually funny because I think you can do fast or something. Maybe that's not the right one, but anyway, so you can have fun with it too. I've seen people actually play YouTube videos in their terminal. They've gone so deep down into it. They do YouTube and Google searching and email and everything on the command line. The IT manager, in fact, actually answers his emails from the command line. He's got an email client in the command line. So I don't go that far. You don't have to go that far. You can kind of choose how much you use it, how much you don't want to use it. But the point is you can customize it to meet your workflow. All right. So again, you can do all kinds of autocomplete. We'll see it later. And again, if you do up and down on the arrow keys, then it goes through all your different previous commands. Like I can go through tons of them. Okay, so how does it do that? We'll just take a quick look of how does it remember all your commands. There's actually a file. So if you do view, while you're in your home directory, while you're in your tilde directory, if you do view dot, I think mine is Z shell because I'm using Z shell history, maybe not. So let's do our first option, ls-a. So this shows your hidden files in addition to the non-hidden files. So normal ls would just give you everything that doesn't have a dot in front of it. But hidden files in Linux have a dot in front of them. So if we do ls-a, it shows us all the files, even the hidden ones. So I've got this Z shell history file. In your case, it will be bash history file. So view.zshell history. And if we go through here, you can see I have like billions upon billions of commands. And eventually it just actually removes all of them. It only goes up to a certain extent. But yeah, so it saves all your previous commands in there. So you never want to enter a plain text password. So if I have hello 1234 and that's my password for something. Then if you enter that, eventually, might not show up now, it will show up in your history. There it is. And your password store plain text. And somebody can find this file and then hack you or something. So that's why whenever you SSH, if you've tried to SSH, your password actually doesn't show up at all. It doesn't record your password as plain text. So yeah. So we've gone through that. We got up and down keys that goes through that history file, shows you what you've typed before and pressed enter on. And then again, you can hit tab to autocomplete your commands or tabs or whatever. So yeah. And then obviously I've got a ton of customizations that make my life easier. All right. So let's start learning Vim. So people will argue, and I've had people ask me before, can we use something besides Vim? Yes, but no. So yes, it's optional. You can learn other text editors like Nano. Gosh, there's a ton of them. I think Sublime, or there's tons of different command line and GUI text editors. You can learn those, but as far as this class goes, we're just going to learn Vim, because Vim is actually kind of, to me, one of the harder ones. The rest are basically building off of Vims or the standard functionality that a text editor has. But Vim is also like used pretty widely. I think people at MIT, there was a guy that gave a lecture on how to use Vim and be the most efficient person with Vim. But yeah, so Vim is just a text editor. Think of Notepad, think of VS Code if you're familiar with that. Think of Notepad++, all of those are text editors. They just purely text, no fancy stuff necessarily. They've got a little bit of fancy stuff, but not that much. All right, so first thing, what is Vim? Another command. You got to learn it. So typically, You can do Vim in two different ways. You can do VI, and you can also do Vim. Both are valid. Sometimes the VI will resort to the old VI program, whereas Vim is or VI improved. So if it looks funky when you do VI, you might want to try Vim. But usually it doesn't matter. They're the same thing. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to go down a couple directories. We're going to go into repos, CSCE 215, and then CD lecture tutorials and lecture 02. So I do print working directory. There's my global path of where I'm at. And then we can do VI. So before we do anything with VI, let's create a new empty file. Touch hello world.txt. All right, so now we have hello world.txt. We created a new empty file. And we can do hello VI hello world.txt. So we're just opening this text file in VI. And so now we have a number 1 for line 1, and you've got this. Again, some of this is customized, so yours will look a little bit different in the lab. You might not have numbering, so if I can actually turn off the numbering, so set no number. Now I don't have numbering. Okay, well maybe I want it back, so set number. Now you turned on numbering. So yeah, so right now we're in what's called normal mode. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So again, text editor, just similar to Notepad, simple text processor, allows simply creating, adding text files, allows some things like searching. Okay, the big thing is, what is Vim not? This is the thing I skipped. Vim is not an IDE. So if you've taken Java, or 145 or 146, you probably used Eclipse or Dr. Java, some other integrated development environment that allows you to press a green button and say, okay, I'm going to run my code and compile my code. Yeah, the text editors don't do that. Yeah, they're just plain Jane text editors. And there's a nice thing about this that we'll talk about in a sec. It's also not a compiler or execution software. It doesn't help you, again, press the button and magic stuff comes out. It is very, very bare bones and minimal. And there are some advantages to this in the form of, one, the text editor is nice and lightweight compared to an IDE. IDEs use a lot of data, they create tons of metadata, all this crap. And so just plain old text editors are nice and lightweight. The other advantage is Vim especially are command line based, so you never have to have a GUI. There are some cases in your career you will encounter a server that you have to log in from somewhere, and you're not going to have this nice click and drag or cut and paste kind of thing with your mouse and stuff. You're not going to have it. You're not going to have a GUI. Yeah, you're just going to have a keyboard. And so you'll have to use something like Vim or Nano or whatever. So the biggest thing about IDEs, like Eclipse, is getting your code to run outside of the IDE. So later on in 240, or way down in maybe you're a senior or something in computer engineering, computer science, you can't use an IDE for everything. Because if you try to pack up an IDE project or whatever, it's a huge mess of files, not just your source code. And a lot of programmers would rather just have only the files they need to run something. Whereas an IDE will give you a bunch of metadata crap and it won't necessarily run as expected without the IDE. One particular thing that's bad about this is Visual Studio. Not code, Visual Studio, the big like IDE from Microsoft, is really bad about this. It's really bad about, this is why Windows is terrible for programming. This is why most people use Linux or Mac for programming, is because Visual Studio is a mess to learn it. If you learn it once and you do it once for your entire career, great. If you're having to do things constantly from command line and back, it's terrible. So IDEs are a mess. This is why I think most programmers and developers will rather forgo IDEs. There are some benefits. They make your life easy in some ways. when you have big projects, but for the most part, you can still do everything very easily from just the command line. Okay, so again, for headless servers, that means you don't have a GUI. You can customize Vim and text editors the way you want. You got tons of programming support, like I think JetBrains makes Python IDEs, and they have one for every single different language. And I think that's kind of blah. And then Visual Studio tries to do what is it, a jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. So again, Vim, quick and easy editing. You never leave the keyboard. Bye-bye mouse. You can go away, throw it away in the trash. Never leave the keyboard. Oh yeah, I said that. Pure text, so you don't have to worry about weird characters. Windows likes to have a weird return character. It's stupid. Windows likes to do a lot of things differently for no reason. And just in general, they just make things harder. Yeah. So Visual Studio Code is more of a text editor, and it has extensions that let you do things. And you start out as bare bones, and then you can build on top of it and add new things. It's like the Google Chrome of text editors. You can add extensions and make things do other things. Like it has a ton of functionality you can add in, but from bare bones, Visual Studio Code just is a text editor. Visual Studio, on the other hand, is what I said, an IDE, where it is trying to build your software. It's purposely built to try to compile and run your software and run it and whatnot. So that's really the difference. Is Visual Studio is jack of all trades. Visual Studio Code is minimal. It's easy, it's lightweight, and it's honestly better than Visual Studio. VS Code is much better in my opinion. All right, so again, plain text, no funny characters, unlike Windows. Windows likes to put weird things places for no reason. Yeah, so Windows especially has this return character. So when you press enter in a file, instead of doing the standard /n, which we'll go over later, /n just means new line in Unix and Linux. They have /n/r or something. So they add something for no reason. There's ways you can convert and everything, but yeah. All right, so again, there's a ton of different modes. We'll go over them individually. So in Vim, automatically, like by default, you start in normal mode. So right now, when we first open hello world.txt, we are in normal mode because we can't do anything. Like you can't edit. Like if I start typing stuff, well, that's a bad example. If I don't hit an I. Yeah, you can start typing stuff and sometimes you'll do something, but not all the time. All right, so normal mode is just nice plain Jane, like you're not editing anything, whatever. Then you have insert mode that lets you insert and modify stuff. And then you have visual mode, which we won't really go too much into depth for because it's kind of a little bit complex. But I'll kind of give a short little demo of it at the end. So you have all these different modes for doing different things. So you enter one mode, you do what you need, you exit it, go back to normal mode. All right, so at first we did touch and then we used VI. Using Vim, you can actually just create the file outright. So instead of doing touch, file name, whatever, so instead of using touch, we can do, so if I rm, let's delete hello world, rm hello world, do ls, it's gone, and then so if we do vi, and then do hello world, world.txt, it opens a new file, and it even tells you it's a new file down here. So down here it actually says, hey, this is a new file, you're creating it for the first time, it hasn't been saved or anything. All right, so you can create files with Vim too. So what's easier, touch or Vim to create a file? Because if you touch a file, you're not putting anything in it. So it's probably more intuitive to use Vim if you're actually planning to put anything in the file. It's like it's like touch is opening Word and then saving an empty file and then opening Word again to edit it. Yeah. So, all right. So now we have insert mode. So this is what we use to insert text and edit text. So all you have to do to enter insert mode is press I on your keyboard. So the I key. You press I, it changes it down to changes this mode down here to insert. So you'll see this in your terminal too. All right, so now we can just say something. So hello, I can spell hello world. Actually, I think it's comma world. There we go. All right, so now we've typed what we want to, and we can again edit it and whatever. But all you have to do to get into insert mode is press I. Okay, now we're done inserting. We want to go back to normal mode. We press escape on your keyboard. So if you heard of the MacBook Pros or whatever, they came out with a couple of years with the touch bars, and they had the escape key on the touch bar. That I had one. It was terrible. Trying to hit the touch bar escape key over and over and over again with my pinky, like it would never work. So when the next MacBook came out that had an actual physical escape key and still with the touch bar, I got it because I just needed the escape key. This is why. A lot of programmers were upset because they use Vim or something and use escape keys in general as a programmer, and yeah, touch bar made it hard. Anyway, I realize I'm putting this on YouTube later, and everyone and people that might hire me at Apple later will be really mad at me. I might not get hired later on if I go to Apple. So yeah, so get back in normal mode. Again, escape. So insert mode, press I. Want to get out of insert mode after we type some things. Let's see, CSCE 215. We press escape to get back to normal mode. So now we can move our cursor and stuff, but that's about all we should be able to do in normal mode. It's just move around and read the file. All right. So next, again, so if you don't know where the escape key is, it's the upper left corner. All right. So how do you save your file? Okay. So again, you have to be in normal mode. If you're not in normal mode, always press escape and you'll eventually get there. And I just did that. And then we type a colon. So shift semicolon. And it brings your cursor down to the bottom left right here. So this bottom left, it brings your cursor down here. And in general, when you want to type a command, yeah.
What do you want to, what should you do if you want to type a colon into the file?
So if you want to do that, you have to press I first. So if I do this, that's because I'm in insert mode, it doesn't assume that I'm wanting to input a command or something. So if you press escape, now we do the colon, and it takes our cursor down here. Okay, so in general, when you hit, when you're in normal mode and you type a colon, it allows you to do a ton of different functionality. It's not just for saving a file or doing other things, like just doing saving files or quitting a file. It's for searching, replacing, all kinds of different things you can do with the normal text editor. So yeah, so if we want to write our file or save it, we just do W for write. We press enter, and now it gives us a message at the bottom saying, okay, our new file, it's got 5 lines in it, it's got 71 bytes of data in it, and it's written. So we saved it, right? So yeah, so again, normal mode, you go to escape, press escape to get in normal mode, press colon, W, enter, write. That's how you save the file. All right, and if we look, now our hello world exists, even though we deleted it. So now we can do a cat, or concatenate on hello world. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted. So cat hello world, and it prints out what we just wrote in the file. So it's just like a different Microsoft Word or code editor or whatever. It's the same thing, it's just text though. All right, so say we open a file hello delete.txt. All right, so say we open a new file we created or whatever, and then we instantly quit. So we'll learn quit in a second. It's just :Q, and then you press enter, it quits. So if we do Q, enter, quits. So if we do vi hello delete, and then quit immediately, because we didn't save it at all, it's not there. We didn't save the file at all, so it doesn't create the file. But if we go up and do it again, and then type a :W, write it, even though it's empty, now, because we wrote the file, it's saved it. So now we have it. It exists. Now, if we just cat hello delete, it's empty. Right? So it does what we would expect. All right. So now we save some stuff. Let's search some stuff. All right. So let's open hello world.txt. All right. So I'm going to put some more stuff in here. Let's do hello USC. Oh no, we're U of SC now because, yeah. Even though we existed before they were school. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so let's search some stuff. Like you would do in a browser or whatever, other text document. All right, how do you search stuff? Well, let's first get into normal mode. So we're in normal mode now. We hit escape a couple times. We do : and we put a slash, a // right? So you would think, oh, well, that's root. That's not root in this case because we're in Vim. So slash, : in Vim is searching. All right, and so let's say we want to search hello. Okay, it says search hit bottom, continuing at top. Okay, so let's do it again. Okay, so notice in this case doesn't matter. And sometimes Vim does make it matter. So in general, a good rule of thumb is always assume case matters. In this case, it doesn't, because we did lowercase h, whereas these are clearly not lowercase. And if you want to see each occurrence of your search, then you just press N for next. So it cycles through, it jumps to each occurrence just by hitting N. Okay, say you want to go back an occurrence, then you just do Shift N. And you can go backwards. So N goes forwards, Shift N goes backwards. So it finds each occurrence of the word hello and goes from there. And you can do symbols too. If we do a comma, oh, that's not what I wanted. It finds the comma, and so on. So yeah, so that's searching. I think it can also do spaces. So if we do comma plus, press enter. There's comma plus, or not plus, space, and so on. So yeah, that's searching in Vim. All right. So now undo and redo. I don't know why I did that. Vi hello world.txt. It's gonna bug me. There we go. Undo and redo. So let's say, so one thing about undo and redo, just like in Word or your typical like text editor, if you save a file and quit it, you can't undo something because you already saved it and quit it, right? It doesn't keep that history. So if I do undo right here by pressing U, the U key on your keyboard, then it says already at oldest change. So because I haven't done anything in this file since the last time I opened it and quit it, there's nothing to undo. But let's do some stuff. So let's do hello. I guess this is weird, but okay. So I write it. Okay, well, I want to undo that because maybe it's a mistake or something. Press U, it undoes it, right? Okay, we want to redo it. So this is, we do Control R, and it redoes what we just did. So undo, redo. So U and Control R. And it tells you what it does. So at the bottom. So then in general, the bottom usually shows you like, hey, this is what you just did. Okay. So let's move on. Scrolling in Vim, pretty simple. Up and down arrow keys. So if we do this, write it. If you want to scroll up and down, use your keyboard instead of your mouse. You can use up and down arrow keys. If you want to move your cursor, you use left and right. And then if you want to go up and down quicker, then you can do page up and page down. Other things you can do is if you want to move your cursor to the end of the line, you can do home on your keyboard. Those keys, that group of 6 keys you never use on your keyboard, yeah, now you can use them. If you press home, it will take you to the beginning of the line. If you press end, it takes you to the end of the line. So those keys are finally useful now. They're not just sitting there. And then, yeah, so page up, page down, Control B, Control F. So why are there macros for the same thing that the arrow keys can do in Vim? Anybody got an idea? Yeah, that's a good point. It's not quite, but yeah, that's a good guess. So the main reason is to keep your fingers on the home row key on your keyboard. So instead of moving it all the way over to the right and going up and down, you can do H, J, K, L instead. So if I do H, it goes left, J, it goes down, L, it goes up, and or K, it goes up, then L, it goes right. So up. I don't use this. This is hard for me to remember for some reason.
Was this after was this before or after WASD was popular?
Probably before. But yeah, it would be better, right? That's one of the reasons I don't use it, is because I'd be like, okay, and I'm sure you can actually probably change your key bindings around and make it to where it's WASD, but the original Vim creators were like, oh no, I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense, because instead of using WASD, it keeps your fingers completely on the home row, only ever moving to H when you need to hit a button. I mean, that's about the same as WASD. Anyway, it's before WASD or whatever it's called. WASD is. We know who plays games in here now. Okay, so quitting them. I've already done it a couple times. It's just :Q. And you quit, and you can proceed like normal, like you're in a terminal. So you can do your commands like normal. So again, we open a hello world.txt, we do some editing, and then we press escape, we do write, we do quit, we save and quit. All right, let's do a couple other things though. Let's make it a little bit more complex. So we do hello world.txt, we start editing it. Okay, what happens if I start typing in here and I press escape to go into normal mode and I press, okay, quit. It says, hey, you didn't save your work. If you want to quit without saving, then you need to add an exclamation point. So if you want to quit without saving, you do :Q exclamation to force quit, and it won't save your work anywhere. So, yeah. Okay, here's another thing that will blow your mind. You can do write and quit at the same time. So if you do :WQ, it saves and quits at the same time. So if we do cat hello world.txt, it prints our file because we entered down a bunch of times. And it saved it too. So yeah. So one reason I don't like doing this, some people will probably criticize me because of this. I always do W and Q separate. So I do :W, hit enter. :Q, enter. Is because I can get a confirmation that I wrote something. So I can say, okay, it actually saved it. I know that it saved. And then I can quit. Versus if you do WQ, then you never get a confirmation. It just writes quits too fast to a point where you can't see that it actually saved it. So you can do what you want. you can write and quit, or you can do W then quit. So again, if you want to save or not save and quit, you just do Q quotation mark. All right. So Vim has a ton more functionality. You can open up multiple files in Vim and switch between them interactively using the keyboard. I never really saw a point in learning it. If you want to go that far and really get to know Vim and master it, then you can. You can use the HJKL keys if you want to. It's up to you. Do whatever you like to do with Vim. Again, you don't necessarily get this kind of customization in other text editors. You can change the colors. Yes, you can do it in Windows or Word or whatever, but it's a pain. You have to go in and change the master like page setup or something. If you want to have some online resources, I think this is just a Google YouTube search on Vim tutorials. And then this, I think, is an actual MIT. Yep. Is it MIT? No, it's Cambridge. So this is actually a guy at Cambridge that actually goes through a ton of the functionality of Vim. And he'll try to convince you that Vim is the right way to do things, as well as you should learn all the right ways of using Vim. Again, use it to however you want to. So as we've been going through this, we've done Vim tutorials. Okay, let's do a little bit more difference. So let's do hello.java. All right, so we're going to see something new. And forgive me, I don't know how to program in Java anymore. I did 6 years ago, and then I said goodbye forever because I'm never touching it again. JavaScript is a different story. All right, so does anybody know what the function, how to do a function in Java? Function, no, it's method. It's method because yeah. Anyway, we're gonna quit. Now we already see why Java's bad. Okay, every other language, system.out println. Yes, that's the most verbose thing ever. What is it in C? C out. The letter C and out. What is it in Python? Print. But Java's like system.out.println who? So yeah, that's me making fun of Java. I don't like Java as a language. It's nice as a first language to learn because it's complex, it's hard, it's got some things that are hard, but it's not as hard as C. Surprise, surprise, you'll be learning C and C++ in your next class as a computer science student. Yeah, but pointers and what is it called? Gosh, I don't know, it's slipping my mind anyway, but pointers are fun. Yeah, so let's do a different language instead. So if you do something with the extension of what language it's supposed to be coded in, so Pi, we do def hello world, and then let's say print, because it's easy, hello world. Oh. No. VI, hello. I'm really showing off my bad programming skills, aren't I? I promise I'm not usually this bad. Hello world. Oh my gosh, please no. 3, hello. So, yeah, I just wrote a simple hello world in Python. Anyway, so the point of this was to show you that Vim does have syntax highlighting. So, yeah.
Will it highlight syntax errors?
Yeah, that's the job of the compiler / the interpreter. So no. Sometimes, I think you can customize it to do it, but in general, Vim, no. This is another benefit of VS Code and some more complex text editors. I think, again, you can customize Vim to do it, though. You could. Like, the thing that Vim and C and all those things do is it puts the controls and the tools in your hands. It's no longer like Java, spinning up a little virtual machine kind of thingy or virtual like thing in the background and does garbage collection for you and takes care of you as the programmer. No, C and in general, programming tools like this do not care. They trust you to be the good programmer and have the good skills. Yeah.
So, how exactly would you write a Python script in Vim that calls rfrf / on your?
Oh, there's this package. Import sys. So there's something in sys that allows you to just run command line commands. So yeah. And then there's OS as well. I think OS might be the other one that you might need or something, but yeah. You can do that one too. But anyway, yeah, you can do it. Yeah. What? Okay. So VS Code, well, if you want to learn it, I recommend VS Code. VS Code is nice. It's very lightweight. You can't do it in a terminal, unfortunately, but it's the best GUI-based one, in my opinion. Yeah. No. I could do a while true loop, but it won't crash my computer. Okay, fine, we'll do it. I'm not going to crash it. Anybody recognize this? What does this do as a command?
Yeah.
Anybody? Yes. Yeah. So the command yes also does this. But in this case, it's doing Y. If I do yes, hello world. Oh, this brings up another good point. We'll learn about quotation marks and their importance. So now if I do this.
I've just always used that like backslash.
Oh yeah, you have to, yeah. So this is going to happen multiple times in the semester where I'm going to botch the demo. Yeah, so yes does the same thing. Okay, so y'all are free to go. See you on Wednesday. Remember, office hours are today if you want to come by.